Different kinds of fear fascinate me. And I've long used to think myself immune to a couple different kinds of fear, and one of them was a fear of heights. I would always love going on roofs. I loved riding in single-engine planes. I got to ride in an ultralight once, and I told the dude to try to scare the crap out of me, and all I had was a blast. I operated cranes. I would be the first guy, stand on forklift tines to go grab whatever large stuff was on top of a shelf. There was never any issue with heights for me. So I became a tower climber. I was installing equipment for rural broadband infrastructure. And that height exists in this really awkward space where it scared the crap out of me. And it wasn't so much just, the height terrified me, that being that high in the air was concerning, but I developed this intense fear of the feelings I would have if I fell. Those moments where you're hurtling backwards or forwards, where you messed up, where you slipped, where you didn't hooked in, and you're falling. And you have a moment to fully recognize both that you're dead, that you will never get to say goodbye to the people that you loved, all while the air is rushing around your ears and you are about to feel the sharpest pain of impact possible. That your remains will be this exploded, crumpled body. And I never could get over that. That specific fear of that moment was worse than anything I've ever felt in my entire life. I've never been more scared. I've never been more, or even frozen, when I was locked in that moment. And it got to the point where I was so worried about that while I was climbing that I'd miss steps when hooking in. I'd miss steps when monkey climbing. I'd go up 20 feet and I'd forget. And it wasn't a safe environment. And I had a really great safety guy who had watched other guys die. And he always said that if you don't think you're in the mental space to do it, the best thing you can do is quit. I remember my final day climbing vividly. I'd been up and down this about 300-foot tower 4 times. We kept getting really high RF readings up at the top. I was getting a headache and I was just done. I remember how sweaty I was, how pounding. And then when I reached the top, bullying myself all the way, saying, come on, just do this. You need to get this done. You need to make money, you have people's support. And then coming to the point where I was up on top of the tower, I was shaking. I was realizing how miserable, tired, and pissed off I've been at the people around me because I just kept attacking something and not making any progress and not saying anything about it. And I decided I was done, that I wasn't doing this anymore, that I was going to head down. I would text my boss and I would go home happy that night and be present and not be full of dread every morning and not hurting myself and making others unsafe just out of my pride. And it was very crushing when I did. My boss was really gracious about it, but I always appreciate. But that specific fear, I don't think will ever fully leave me again. This video doesn't really have a super proper ending. I more kind of want to discuss the fear of that fall. But it's weird how long you can go not having any fear within something and then finding something totally new. You might not be afraid of the dark in your room, but you definitely might be afraid of the dark in the middle of a forest. I made a video about that. And the extremes of the ordinary. The fear in the extremes of the ordinary is a really interesting topic that I think I definitely plan on talking more about.